Tonight I'm losing my layers, I'm letting you know. So won't you come back into me where you belong? Losing my layers, I'm letting you know. So won't you come back into me where you belong?
Small talk, we walk, the conversation slows. You say, I've changed since we had that summer. Tongue-tied July, feels like so long ago. 18, big dreams, but we had each other. I wish I could go back right now. Win your heart, keep your mind. I wish I could go back right now. Just restart, stop the time in tongue-tied July. Tongue-tied July. In tongue-tied July.
About 200 years before the Common Era, with the Hasmonean king, which is basically the Greek, and the Greeks were in Israel. And they came and they conquered Jerusalem, and then a bunch of Jews who were led by a family called the Maccabi. So the Maccabim, as Judah the Maccabee was the youngest, but he was the strongest, they fought back against the Greek king, and they kicked him out. And then they came back to Jerusalem, and they came to the Holy Temple, and there was oil, there was special holy oil that needed to be burnt in the Hanukkah, or the menorah of the in the temple, and they couldn't find any holy oil. All of the oil had been opened and poured onto the ground, and they finally found one jar of oil, and the size of the jar was enough to burn for one night. But it would take them 8 nights to make additional oil to burn later on. So they didn't know what to do. So they said, well, we have 1 night's worth, let's light it and see what happens. And so they started making new oil. They burnt the 1 night, and the 1 night became 2 nights and 3 nights, and it burned the entire 8 nights, even though it was only enough for 1 night of oil. And then by the end of the 8th night, they had made new oil and they could continue on. So the miracle of Hanukkah is that this oil that was enough for 1 night burnt for 8 nights. So that's why Hanukkah is 8 nights long. And that's why the tradition is to eat things that have to do with oil. שעשה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. While the Greeks were in Israel, before we got them out, the Jews used to come together, but they weren't allowed to. So if the Greeks came by, they would say, oh, we're not having a meeting, or we're not having religious services, we're just playing a game. And so they would keep these on hand so that they could cover up the fact that they were actually meeting and planning and praying and doing the things that they weren't allowed to do at the time.
It's like an N in Hebrew, and it's Nes. Nes is miracle. Then you flip it. This is a G, it's like a G, and it says Gadol, means big. And then
so big miracle.
Big miracle. And this is a Hey, which is like an H, and it says Haya, there was. And here's the one difference to know whether you are from Israel or any other place in the world. If the last letter looks like this, that's a Sh, like an SH. Sham, meaning there, as in Israel. Or if you have P, which is like a P, means Po, which is here, as in Israel. So either a big miracle happened here in Israel, or a big miracle happened there in Israel. If you don't live in Israel, it's there. If you live in Israel, it's here.
So it has to be different depending on where you live.
Ready? I want to. Yes.